Welcome, everybody, to this forum. The topic of the forum is Join the Composites Industry and Contribute to a More Sustainable Future. That's what it's all about. I'm very pleased to introduce the speakers of the forum. Next to me is Claire GHIRINGHELLI. She's a chemical engineer. She has been working for 20 years in materials research laboratories in the field of space and military propulsion, then aeronautics. And now she is in charge of the general management of human resources in Safran. Next to Claire, we have Professor Veronique MICHAUD. She is from the ECOLE POLYTECHNIQUE FEDERALE de Lausanne and head of the Laboratory of Processing and of Advanced Composites. She's an engineer by education, and she had a lot of experience also abroad. And the field is mainly, as I already said, material processing, but from a materials engineering point of view. And then we have Professor Andrea Ratti. He is from Politecnico di Milano, and he is teaching at the design department, and he's a professor of yacht design and architecture technology at the School of Design. His activity is technical innovation, especially in marine construction techniques, and the focus is on sustainability in design and industrialization processes. Then we are very pleased to welcome Cindy Squires. She is the president and CEO of the American Composites Manufacturer Associations, ACMA. Previous to that, she was the chair of the International Wood Products Association, so she can combine the best of the two worlds, natural composites like wood and composites as we talk about in this show. And he has been working in different roles as advisor at the US trade representative and the board of the American Boat and Yacht Council. And last but not least, we have Sebastian. Sebastian is he's from Holland, from the Netherlands. He is a mechanical engineer, and he is the technical director of the Thermoplastic Composites Research Center at the University of Twente. And well, I hope that everybody will enjoy the discussion on how can we all think about the future of our industry at large. So I would like to start with my first question, and this is for all of you. So I hope that somebody will volunteer. My question is recruitment and training. Is it a challenge for our highly innovative and rapidly growing industry? Who wants to start? Who wants to break the ice? Sebastian, please.
I can break the ice. I can confirm that it's not easy because I think recruitment is a problem for everybody.
Speak closer to the microphone.
Okay, so recruitment is a problem for everybody in the Netherlands for different levels. Yeah, we're looking for mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers, so bachelor to PhD level people. And yeah, we're not, so as a Thermoplastic Composites Research Center, we are not competing with the composites industry as such, but also to say advanced manufacturing. Like we have the ASML in the Netherlands with all their suppliers, and they are attracting a lot of people. So I think as a composites industry, we really have to promote ourselves and to make sure that we become as competitive as those manufacturing companies, special mechanical engineering companies. Also show that composites is not only material science, but it's all about automation, about high technology and so on.
Definitely, this is a highly technical answer. Who wants to enlarge the spirit of the question to less technical problems, more like Andrea, do you want to contribute?
If I can add, some of us are from academics and from university, so probably it's clear that knowledge, we believe that knowledge is part of innovation and the possibility to look forward in what the industry could be in the future. If I wouldn't have this conviction, probably I'm in the wrong place working in university, for sure. But I think that this is peculiar, even for what concerns the composite industries, because it's typical that the output and what the industry can do is related to testing, to understanding year by year, day by day, what the composite opportunity could be, and even how to work on technology to increase the perception of the potential of the technologies, and even, especially in this period, what could be the more sustainable approach in using resources and in driving technologies in order that this could...
That's really definitely a hot topic. And my last question is for Claire. Do you think that it's difficult to convince young people to work in our industry, from your perspective?
Yes, we have in Safran all industrial in composite materials field have very high challenges in recruitment, actually. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's very important to maintain, to develop our school and university relation, to be attractive for young people and very, very young people. It's important to speak about our different profession, technical and scientific profession, to the very young people, 10 years, 12 years. It's important. And to be attractive for women. Absolutely. In the industry,
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
So Safran developed the school relation.
Okay, so luckily we were good enough to choose this topic for this discussion, and we can continue with the second question, which is, which in your opinion are the major arguments that we should use to attract the new generation of professionals and convince them to start a career in composite material sector? So what kind of keywords do you think are the right ones? Sustainability, energy transition, gender equality, whatever. This is, I guess, for Veronique. Would you like to give your opinion about that? You are, we are every day you are in touch with the young people.
I think the main keyword is also fun. It's trying to transmit your enthusiasm to the young generation that we can work on composite and have a nice life with that. But of course, I mean, then there are many other aspects. Indeed, I think now when we talk to the students, this energy transition, climate change and all these things is a big issue, and they're very sensitive and they're pushing us to do something. Mm-hmm. And we have to be able to train them to have the skills. So not only the technical skills, indeed, they need to have a good background, in math, physics, chemistry, composite processing and so on, but also the critical mind to be able to assess the environmental, the sustainability, to think already from an eco kind of, eco-design perspective when they start a project. And that's something that is responsibilities with us to give them what they want, because that's really what the students are looking for now.
So they are not looking anymore for math, physics and chemistry?
Well, they are, I don't know if they were ever looking
they
for
never
that.
did.
Those who come to composite. No, and it's also that, I think seeing what we have in the show, seeing the diversity, because I think with composites, what's really amazing is that you choose, but you don't choose, because there is a diversity of materials, diversity of applications. So it's also very interesting on that point.
And Cindy, what's your point of view from the other side of the ocean? Is it the same in the States?
Well, that and having an 18-year-old in my home, I understand that as well. I think the youth are very interested in authentic and making sure that where they go is truly going to be helpful to the environment, and they're looking for a future. And so composites really provide that, because you simply cannot do what we need to do. I heard a quote over here which I thought was great: you couldn't have the Green New Deal without composites. And I think it's true, and I think we can really speak authentically that by joining this industry, they will actually be making a difference in terms of us moving us forward. That we are not going to get to a place where, you know, we eliminate gas emissions from cars without composites. We need composites for windmills. We need to have these innovations, and making sure they understand that this is in fact building that new future. And that's going to attract the youth.
That looks exciting. If I were young, I would start a career in composites, probably. My next question is more for Andrea and Sebastian. Please, Andrea.
I'd like to add even something on this, because I think that in this period we have the opportunity to capitalize the increasing sensibility of the young people. As you know, Roberto, we are daily in touch with the young generation, and if the age is changing for us, not for our customer, because they have the same age, but over years we notice that something is changing, and besides this changement, now we notice that the sensibility toward sustainability is something that is very pervasive, and we should take advantage of these because especially working with composite materials, we have the opportunity to transfer the importance of or how important is define how to use the material, and the sustainability is a matter of design and not only of technology. So how to approach the material, how to approach the use of resources. And so I think that combining this increasing sensibility with the knowledge, we could catch a good result.
Okay, good. And my next question is about new applications. So what's do you think that's for you, Andrea, and then maybe for Sebastian, if you want to contribute? What are the new application sectors that you see with the greater potential for composites in the future to attract new talents? Andrea.
Please.
Please.
25 years ago, I started on a master thesis project on thermoplastic composites, and that was new, at least relatively new in the Netherlands, and I was very passionate because it was pioneering. There was no knowledge. We had to create it, and now for 25 years.
Now it's state of the art.
No, it's not. No. I still have the feeling.
Yet.
So if you walk the show, you will see new applications, maybe a bit more mature, but there is enormous momentum now with thermoplastics, and I think it's really nice, cool to be part of that. At the TPRC, we're a small institute. We try to create an environment where our young researchers, we take them directly from the university, have the same feeling. So they can have their own project. We try to tailor the projects also to their needs, because that's my experience also with young people. But I'm not sure if it's a thing for the new generation, because I want to feel the same way. I want to contribute. I want to do something special, and not somebody telling me, you have to do this job. It's nice if I can have my own input on what I want to do and how to do it. So we give them that freedom, and I think it's very important also to give responsibility to young people at a very, very early stage. So we can talk about the needs of young people, but I think the new generation should be doing that within the companies.
So you gave us a good overview of materials, Andrea. From the technology point of view, what do you see at the horizon in the future?
Well, I think that for sure there's a field of research which is related to materials, and so Sebastian is focused on developing thermoplastic resins and composites. there's a topic which is related to the life cycle assessment of materials, and so how to approach the use of the resources, but even how to use in application. And I've been since ever fascinated by technology and the possibility to find innovation in the way of differently apply technology. And I think that in this period we have a very good perspective in this, because if we compare, for example, where we are talking about the use of additive manufacturing, I think that if we look at this technology, from an historical point of view, we can find ourselves in a base, like when we started using different materials against wood materials. And so we are using new opportunities and new technology with the old way of using the material of tradition. And combining these with the perspective in designing components, in designing tools, we can find a very interesting match, because if you analyze what is going on related to the use of artificial intelligence applied to design, there's a very great, enormous potential of tools available for designer in imagining something that is not still existing, but from every point of view, from the point of view of the way of using objects, or the way of living within the spaces. And so the possibility to imagine differently all these stuff can drive us in use technologies differently. And probably we are not yet prepared in using technologies like that. I can give you an example. As Roberto introduced me, I'm focused on the use of composite in yachts field. And if we look to the market, we see that nowadays we are using the techniques that ask us to give shapes to a component using a mold. And when we use these to produce a part of a yacht, most of the time we use a mold just for produce one piece or two pieces or something like. So there's no sense from the economic point of view, and especially from the sustainability point of view. And so this doesn't make sense to stress research on energy control if we lose material resource, energies working like that. In this, there's a lot of opportunity in study how to use in innovative ways the techniques that we already know in a different way, combining the opportunity of what design is perspective has and what new technologies can offer us in new waves of using composite materials.
That's really an exciting field for young people. I guess Veronique wants to add something, because she is
I fully
passionate
agree.
in technology. She fully agrees with that.
Yeah, because I think indeed there are a lot of things to do in not only the materials aspect, but there is indeed the molds. A lot of things that may not sound so exciting, but they are very exciting now, because we have to think ahead and rethink completely differently sometimes the way we make composites. So additive manufacturing is one. There are new curing methods. Of course, now we're all trying to and getting there out of the autoclave, you know. But and it's a challenge, because you have to make very good quality materials without using so much pressure, so much temperature, finding clever ways to have the temperature and the pressure just where you need it, when you need it. And I think the modeling part, all this analysis that goes with it, this digital twins as we call them now, but it's also a very important way, and because that's the way also you can start to create new processes and new materials that will be more energy efficient, more sustainable. So there's a completely open field. So composites are not finished.
That's fantastic to know. So we are about to start a revolution, and
Yes.
we need young people because they are the ideal for revolution. I guess Claire wants to add something to this topic from your perspective.
Yes,
do you have the same feeling that we are?
Yes, I agree too, but it is very important to have the best skills in manufacturing too. And it is very difficult, for example, to have the best technician in our plan, and the whole manufacturing and processing methods is very important. And it is, we must work with the school to have the best training in this field too.
So that's a good message for the trainers. You have to do more, more training, which is the ideal starting for the next question. This is for Cindy. We know that ACMA has a wonderful training program with different initiatives that you are using to attract new talents in the American industry. This experience can be an inspiration for the rest of the world, in your opinion. So
Well, I like
what
that.
can you teach us?
An inspiration for the rest of the world.
I guess she has, yeah.
I have, I have to have a PowerPoint, I'm a lawyer, I like to teach a little bit here. But yes, we developed our workforce training program a number of years ago, the Certified Composite Technician Program. And to a certain degree, it's to meet that need. It's to make sure that we've got a certification program that can be scaled, that can be used by many in the process. And it's a train the trainer program as well. So our hope is to not only do the training ourselves, which we're happy to do, but also to really help the manufacturing facility, or in some cases a university, where we give them our curriculum so that they can scale up. A community college, a technical school can scale up rather quickly a composite training program. And so we administer the test, give them the curriculum, they teach it. We have a program where we train the trainer and work through it. And we can do it very bespoke. And one of the programs we do is just work really carefully with a manufacturing facility. So for example, this year we're going to be on site in a new manufacturing facility for 3 weeks. We'll be cycling different trainers in as they bring a whole new facility up to snuff, which means just a lot of hands-on training to get that workforce ready to go. Another program that we're working on is, the Army Corps of Engineers is looking to go big into composites, and they have a whole workforce that needs to be trained. They need to understand them. One area that we interestingly train a lot of is technical salespeople. You have a sales force that needs to be able to communicate it, but you don't really want them out on the manufacturing floor, but you do need to make sure they know how it's made, right? And so we often will play that role as well. I think one of our challenges is what topics do we train on? And these are the topics we currently have training for, and where we're seeing some gaps is the need to look at some of the new technologies like thermoplastics. What other processes? How can we help the manufacturer be successful in composites, which means being lean? It means making sure you aren't doing the waste, because from an environmental perspective, overspray is not only bad economics, it's also bad for the environment. Your emissions are higher when people don't know what they're doing. Your quality, you don't want to have warranty claims. So those are the kinds of things really that more on the ground, making them successful. And that's where we're working. We're about to engage in a needs assessment and a survey of not just our current clients, those manufacturing facilities, but where else can we help move composites forward so that people are able to source those products. And so one area we're working on is working with a union in the United States that is for linemen, who are going to be putting up utility poles and cross arms. and they need to be trained on how to do it with a composite product. And so it's different. And so those are the kinds of things that we need to be thinking of, not just thinking of our individual manufacturing facility, but how are we going to get these products actually integrated further out. And as we move into the building space, we're going to have to do that as well. It's different using composite,
Oh, yeah, sure.
FRP rebar versus using the steel rebar. Those are the things we're thinking, where should we be next? And we've got to keep our ear to the ground on that.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. This definitely can serve as inspiration for some other initiatives like this one. Congratulations. And what about companies? Companies like Safran, what are the challenges that you see in terms of recruitment and training of your workforce in France and abroad?
So first, we have very high technological challenges to make the future in the aviation, to be able to imagine the good engine architectures, to light in plane at the acceptable cost.
Sure.
And to have the best quality manufacturing and process, to think about the recycling life of the materials of the engines. So it is very high challenges in composite field. For that, we need people, we need good person, young people, but Safran recruit young graduated people in the composite field, but experimented people too. And we need the all different skills, scientists, manufacturing, design, and control too. We want to be the best in researching new materials, fiber, resin, adhesive, for structural or interiors composites. And we must to improve the intrinsic characteristic, so physical, chemical, mechanical characterization in our lab. It is a very specific skills too. And it is important for us that our technician, our engineer, our PhD can do characterization in lab, can know the manufacturing and process difficulties, and now to be able to make simulation.
Sure.
To make simulation for the future, for the comportement.
The behavior.
The behavior of the materials.
Yeah.
In our real life.
So it looks like a really exciting field for young people.
It is very different skills: chemistry, mechanical, process.
Multidisciplinary.
Yes.
Definitely. So that's the next question is for the professors that we have here. At the university level, what are the major barriers, in your opinion, for a greater dissemination of composite materials culture outside traditional sectors such as aerospace or chemistry?
I think, there are some traditional approaches to composite. Also, the polymer engineering is another one. I think the barriers are more to get the students attracted to. I don't think there are barriers as soon as you start to show what composites are, and then you can then remove this barrier. The main barrier is people don't know about composite. And in the traditional way to teach, most of the time, you see it indeed from the tiny corner. And as was told just now, we don't need people who have one specific skill. We need people who have a very good basic understanding and are able to have an idea of how all these skills are attached together. So they might not be experts in all of these, of course, and you need some experts in all of these, but you need also to train engineers who are aware of all these elements. So one of the barriers that we have is to find, is for ourselves to shift a bit from the traditional teaching also, you know, we can teach the classical laminate theory, we can teach how to make a plate in the lab, and then we send the students to a company and they realize that, okay, if you make a composite, it's not a flat plate, it's not doesn't follow the classical laminate because it's a woven 3D something.
It's not unidirectional.
And it's not unidirectional and this and that. And then you have all the issues of the shaping, the mold, the, you know, the demolding agent, this and that. How do you fix it? How do you assemble? It's always the problem that comes to mind. So one way we are doing, which I think works very well, I don't know if the students are here, some of them, but is to have this interdisciplinary project. I know in Holland, in Delft, of course, in Munich, they also do this. So the students are in associations and teams, and they have to participate to competitions and make a, you know, Formula One car, or rocket, or a boat, or this and that. And by doing this, they start to realize all the frustrations that they have, not having had enough. And so they're really demanding then that we teach more about assembly, about, you know, all these various aspects.
Quality
and they
control,
realize this.
Yeah.
And they start to do the modeling, because even they didn't have the course. They already come and ask you advanced questions about the modeling, and you're like, but you're only a bachelor student. You will have this course next year. Yeah, but, you know, I'm responsible for the, whatever, the structural part of the...
the car.
And I think it's a very good motivation. So the barrier is really to have the students be able to engage practically and experience all this, instead of keeping the very academic way we have done before.
Andrea, you are coming from a different type of teaching because it's not engineering.
Yes.
But not so different, I guess.
No, not so different, even because I think that there are two main barriers in attracting students in understanding what composite could be. I think these are regulation from one side and the traditional way of approaching the use of materials. Because even now we still have let's say a way of approaching the calculation of a structure which is son of how we use iron or concrete in architectural application. And so moving away from this, let's say, comfort zone, it's hard for our students, because you know that there's a changement of perspective in adopting composite material, which doesn't exist before you start using them. And so it's a complete different approach using materials, taking into account their properties and combine them for the need. And it's very far from obtain the materials as for the requirement. So this requires a changement of attitude in approaching the use of material. And probably it's late for us because we are involved in the last step of the formation path. And so we can work even hardly in giving knowledge in how to use technique properly and how to look for innovation in the use of materials and technique. But probably it's too late. If I remember one of the best experience I had was some years ago working with kids, because we manage an event for kids of the primary school, and we invite them in approaching the use of composite materials. And so with, let's say, 20 kids, we produce, using infusion techniques, a small dinghy that at the end of the process they had the opportunity to use. And so I think that this is a starting point to introduce the passion and even the vision on how to use material, because they didn't start from a material, because the material is not doesn't exist before you start using, but at the end you have the boat and you can use the boat. And so this is something that I'm sure they took inside, and when they start learning more and even approach the university, they could have inside this reminder of what material could be and what we can do using properly technology. And generally, we are convinced that talking about technology, this is something that could be peculiar, is hard to understand, but I have the video with 20 kids jumping on the molds and using composite vacuum pump and so on. In 10 minutes, they were aware of what to do to obtain the final results. I think that even for industry, this is something that is related to you, is a medium-term deadline, but I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, that's, I guess, definitely a good message. What I tell to my students is that composites may be more complicated, but they are not more difficult, so they can make it. Yeah, this is my last question. So see, it's for everybody, and maybe we can start from Sebastian. The question is very general, because I would like to come to a conclusion at the end of this conversation. So what we can do to improve the situation. So the question is, what do you think is the best way, your personal opinion, to introduce the potential of our materials in an audience of professionals of all ages, starting from the kids of Andrea, and train them to become professionals we need? Like, you think that we should act at the university level in continuing education projects? Should we use online courses or any other type of tool that we have available today? What's your opinion, Sebastian?
So my personal opinion is that with composites you learn by doing. So online can help, but you really need to go to the lab. And I agree with Veronique. I'm a big fan of the solar boats, solar cars, building bridge contests, where maybe first year to second year students get into touch with composites. And they can make something and they can break it. It would be good also for universities, industry and government to step up and keep financing these projects. Because if you look at Solar Car Challenge, these students, they will stop their studies for a year. We should not penalize them for doing these initiatives. So we need to keep sponsoring that. It's a team of engineers that works with composites, so potential new employees. They are in contact with all the sponsors. So maybe one person drives a solar car, but in the end it's a community of maybe 150 people that is involved with the project. And it's all about visibility. So they know their potential new employers, but they also talk to fresh students. And yeah, we've been pulling quite a lot of very talented engineers from that specific pool. So I think it's yeah, we have a joint responsibility to keep those projects going.
So you have the opportunity to see the product of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the final product.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, Cindy?
I think partnerships. We find that our manufacturer members that have strong partnerships with either a local technical school, a community college, even a high school, is going to do the best in attracting the workforce. They need to not only speak about composites, but about their location and what it means to work for their company, yeah, and how they treat their employees, and having that kind of community outreach, being part of the community, and really getting out there and just, you know, sponsoring those programs, making sure that the school is talking about them as an employer, making sure that they do events to bring them to the facility. But that kind of partnership is what's going to be key. Companies that don't have that have a much harder time finding workers, but you really have to reach out to the community.
Andrea, maybe we can try to convince kids that composites are fun, but how can we convince teenagers that composites is a good career for the future?
Yeah, I think it's not far, because as I told at the beginning, we have to capitalize this increasing sensitiveness to sustainability, and so probably we are the limit to that, because if we take advantage from this kind of expectation from coming from the new generation, we can offer the possibility to see on what composite can offer and composite techniques can offer as well. And this is even for saying that probably we have a period in which sustainability is has been used as something to say that composite industry could be greener than other industry, but nowadays it's not anymore a matter of greenwashing. So this time, this era is completely ended. We can use a specific element to say and to explain and to show how and why composite technology could be more interesting from the sustainability point of view. And I think that this is the way to attract and to give an answer to this expectation of sustainability. And so I think this is the match, and even is the place to understand how to communicate this in teaching from the industry, because this is the real potential looking forward to the
young professionals. Yeah. And Veronique, we have been discussing about how to motivate the youngest, but what about following our students in their career? Do you think that a continuing education program is needed in this sector, given the fact that we are at the edge of a revolution?
Yeah, I think we need to be active at all levels, of course. And for people who are already in industry, either because it just so happened that composites is something that's coming, like you mentioned for these electricity poles, or because they want to shift a bit. A lot of them are kind of worried because they don't know. And composite is not something that you can just find a book and then you know everything. It's much more than that.
It's plenty of books.
And it's very sometimes difficult, and then they say, well, it's too complicated, we don't go into composite. Yeah. And so I think we have to really be active in continuing education as well, offering programs where I teach in one at the CNAB in Paris, which is every 2 years, and with people from industry, and I love teaching to these guys because they have really difficult questions because they have a lot of experience themselves. And they have a lot of questions that push us also to the frontiers of what we do. Yes. It's a challenge, but it's also very interesting because we have to kind of demystify the use of composites and give them the kind of the way they can say, okay, now we can do it. We have confidence. It's not something completely impossible. And I think I also agree we need to always link, and that's always a bit the problem for money funding, that theory and practice, because we can teach the theory, but we also need to teach the practice. And one thing that happened to me once for PhD students, so they're advanced, we teach a course on manufacturing of composite. And normally I teach, and then I give them a lab tour with demonstrations. And one year we had to shift because the guy giving the lab tour was not available and that. And so I first had the lab tour straight, and then the course. And it was the best course I ever had because they had, they could rely to everything that they've seen, and they were like, yeah, but why? When he did this, why did he do it this way? And what is this thing that you use? And why did you do it this way? And so then all the theory behind was needed, but they wanted the theory behind, and whereas before it's always difficult to get it. So I think we are improving every day.
That's a very nice example. Yeah. Thank you, Veronique. So Claire, you are the last one, so you have heard all the opinions of the other speakers. What's from a company perspective, what do you think about
it is to be attractive.
What is left to do?
To be attractive, the human resource strategy in a company like Safran is to have a very important society responsibility. The young people now want to work in a company when in the technical field, who the company is responsible, prepare the future, who the employees can dream. It's very important.
Oh yeah, that's important.
And for that, we go in the school, our employees go in the school to speak about our days in work. And it is important for our future recruitment.
So it's a storytelling approach. Look, it's very good for you.
Yes, that company can improve the inspiration in the university and the school.
That's a very good point and suggestion. I guess we are perfectly in time, so I thank you all the speakers. We have 10 minutes left for some questions from the audience, if you have any, to our speakers, and then we go for the conclusion in the last couple of minutes. Are there any questions from the audience? Please raise your hand and you will be provided with a microphone. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Thank you. Hello, hello. Okay. I have a question about...
sorry, can you present yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm Olivier. I'm from CNRS, the French National Center for Scientific Research. I'm working with biosourced materials for packagings and drug delivery applications. And my question is about sustainability. And I would like to know what is the priority to make this industry more sustainable? Like, is it to find new materials, to improve the design of processes, or to enhance the recyclability of the...
Very good question. Who wants to answer?
I can try.
Veronique.
Because we're asking these questions every day to ourselves. I think what's important, because we have to be careful not to go full blast into one aspect without looking at the others. So for me, the most important is to be able to have the holistic approach to say, okay, I want to make this part, this volume, this application, and so on. What is the best way to do it without impacting the environment? So it can be indeed the choice of material, of course, but then it can also be finding an energy efficient manufacturing process. It can be, and we always ask this question, is it better to cure the resin at 150 for 5 hours or 180 for 2 hours? It will depend, of course, on your oven, the mold, everything is related to this. So having scenarios, and then also, of course, the use phase and the recyclability. Sometimes if you do the life cycle assessment, you see the recyclable part is very small in the overall assessment, because it's better maybe to have a vehicle, of course, avoiding emissions of CO2 due to lightweighting for 10 years of use. So there, and we have to be worried about the fact that some of our politicians tend to go into things that look easy solutions without looking at all the rest. So I think what we need to train our students is to have this critical view that we need to really look at everything from a very holistic approach, being able to try to assess, which is not always easy, what is the impact and where are the drivers, where are the big points, the nasty, the hot spots, and then try to work on those to be able to get the most efficient route from the beginning to the end. It's not an easy task, but hopefully we'll do this one day.
Is there anybody disagreeing with Veronique on this topic? No.
So we are perfectly aligned. So sustainability is a serious matter. So if you believe to solve so complex problem with just one solution, probably you are wrong. And so this is the signal that you can't do like that. But the complexity is the answer to the problem, and so you have to follow different kind of path, different kind of approach. The research should open the possibility on what on materials, on technology, on the use of energy, on the studying life cycle, and so in your field this is relevant even because the time life is very short, and so it's more relevant to find alternative, and even the best way of imagining the product for his main purpose, and even for the second purpose that this could have. This is part of the same problem.
So apparently it's a very good topic for team working. Different competencies, different expertise. Did we answer your question? Yes, probably. Is there any other question? Yes. One here in front. Just wait for the microphone.
Hello, I'm Pratik. I'm a student from POLYTECHNIQUE Milano. And my question is, when we talk about training, we always talk about technical training, but shouldn't there be more focus also on the techno-commercial training, like the technical sales part, because that's where you are more in contact with the customer or trying to find new applications. So is there some focus that is lacking in that direction?
So he's asking about the training definition, which is really tricky. Who wants to answer? Cindy?
I can talk a little bit about that. One of the activities that we've undertaken at ACMA is Tech Days, where we work with an OEM, a manufacturer, a customer, if you will, and we present a bespoke program for them. So our members will then show what are their capabilities, what can they do, because of course you can't specify something if you don't understand it. So that's a little bit of a different kind of training program, but you know, an example is we're going to be doing one with Hyundai Kia coming up, and in working with their company, it was really a moment where, as a company, they decided they wanted to look at new materials. And so in order to do that, they have a whole workforce of engineers that they have to introduce those concepts to. And so now, you know, we're essentially providing a program for them where they get to ask all those questions. We give them that more basic training, and then have the opportunity to really have those discussions. So that's an example of how you do that. The same goes with our conversations with the Army Corps of Engineers. You know, we're going to have very detailed conversations with their engineers, so when they go to actually do a request for proposals, they're educated, we're educated, we know how to respond to their request. We're all speaking the same language. So that's just a critical part of the outreach that the industry has to continue to do. And if we're going to get into new markets, we're going to have to figure out how to do that outreach in those new markets, and who are the key players that need to be educated, and what does education look like for them?
Thank you. We have time for a last question. Apparently no more questions, so I will try to wrap up by saying that our conversation, the conclusion for our conversation is probably that composites were a revolution when they appeared in the market in the 60s. They went through all the technological revolutions of the years, and now we are on the edge of a new revolution in which we can use a different approach that takes into consideration more requirements than in the past. And I think that composites can be the answer to many big questions that we have in our society today. But in order to be able to attract new professionals to our industry, we have to communicate in the right way, not only the complexity of dealing with composites, which can be detrimental for the motivation of the young people, but also the opportunities and the fact that they can work on a very lively and exciting sector, and they can start a completely new career in a field which is going to be one of the best and more fast-growing material fields in the future. So I wish to thank all the speakers and all the audience for staying here till lunchtime. So it's time for lunch. Thank you very much, and see you next year.